Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we're going to be talking about a topic that I've actually had on the back burner for quite some time now. Actually over 2 years I've had this idea and this topic I've wanted to talk to you guys about, but I didn't know how to properly tackle the idea and discuss the idea until recently, when I pretty much had a eureka moment and I was like, Eureka! I know exactly how to talk about this topic now, because I pretty much couldn't get it past like 2 minutes. So I wanted to make it more in-depth of a video, I guess you could say. So that's the reason why I never did it before. So the topic we're going to be discussing and talking about today is how each player in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, or I guess you could say you could categorize different players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh that have different playing styles. Everybody in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh I see, and I guess you could say I can group them into different categories, play Yu-Gi-Oh a little bit differently. They'll play the same exact deck, maybe even the same exact build, but they'll play it a little bit differently than somebody else. Jimmy over here may play the deck differently than Jeff over here, and Jeff may play it differently than Brian, and Brian may play the same exact deck differently than, you know, some Will. That's what I'm trying to say here. And if you played this game of Yu-Gi-Oh long enough, you will actually start to see this trend. People really don't understand it, and I guess nobody really talks about it, but each player really plays the same deck a little bit differently. If I gave one deck, if I gave my Gravekeeper deck, or I guess you could say my Marauding Captain deck, or whatever deck I have on me, my Blue Eyes Dark Magician, and I gave it to each individual player, I gave them the same exact deck, I bet after a couple of games they would start playing the deck a little bit differently compared to somebody else over there. Somebody may want to clear the board before they commit to a big summons. Somebody may just summon the big monster, say hit me. Some people may want to pave the way. Some people may want to try to bait out the back row before they go for the big play. Each player plays a similar deck very differently. And you may say, well, what other ways can you show examples of this, Seto? This is an interesting topic, but can you talk about it a little bit more? Let me show you some good examples here. Now, I'm not here to talk about net decking or anything like that. I've talked about that topic before, and if you guys want me to revisit it, I'll gladly revisit it down the road sometime. But let's talk about a good example of net decking. And from personal experience here, I can't tell you how many times I've done a deck profile and somebody says, this build sucks, I played this build online, it didn't work out well, it didn't do anything good, it was a horrible build. I've gotten comments and remarks about that countless times. And the one thing I started learning after playing my decks, retuning them, playing with them, and this is years ago even and now, is that every player plays the deck similarly. No two players may play the deck similarly. When you look at different techs that people play in certain decks, even main meta decks for that matter, sometimes you'll notice that they play that tech card because that's the way they like playing the deck, or that's their playing style. They may like more traps than monsters. They may like more monsters than traps. Believe me, you'd be really surprised, but once you start thinking about it, and you start sitting down and saying, yeah, that makes sense to me a little bit. Because how many times, and if you've net decked before or tried a new deck out, you take somebody's build so you can just get a good understanding of the deck. I mean, heck, I even do that. When I'm picking up a new deck, I may play somebody else's build just so I get a good understanding. And I may say to myself, you know what, I don't understand why they're playing this, or I may not understand why they're playing that. I've looked at countless regional deck profiles throughout the course of Yu-Gi-Oh history, and I know this has happened many times when you watch other Yu-Gi-Tubers, and you're like, well, why are they playing that card? Or why are they playing that card? Or why are they playing that card or that card? You know, that doesn't make sense. That's a bad build. And we just throw it off and say it's a bad build. But you have to think here. It's probably a different playing style, really, when you think about it. It could be also that their meta is completely different than what we consider the main meta at a YCS type of level event. But also, it may be their playing style. It may work for them, doesn't mean it's going to work for you, because everyone's a little bit different. Just like with different people, really, we also play our decks a little bit differently, maybe. Now, granted, not saying that everybody does that, but you also probably could break it down into different categories. More aggro type of players, more passive type of players, more defensive type of players, more trap heavy type of players. You could probably break it down if you really want to, but that's not what I want to discuss about in this video. I just want to talk about this idea and see if you guys have noticed this as well throughout playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For however long you've played. That different players have different playing styles. Like I said before, you could group them in different categories probably, or group them together, but every player has a different playing style. And what works for one player necessarily is not going to work for another player out there. And you can look through this from watching, taking an exact copy of a deck, giving it to different people, and seeing how they play the deck. They're going to play it differently. Yeah, you may get different hand ratios and whatever, but you're going to notice they approach that deck, they play that deck a little bit differently, and they may even tech that deck out to make it more suitable, to the way they want to play that deck. I can't tell you how many times I've noticed this, and playing and building decks throughout my Yu-Gi-Oh! Career. I started noticing this ages ago, and I was like, you know what, this would be a cool topic to talk about, so I would love to hear your feedback on this. Do you notice this as well? And I guess you could say that's one of the downsides, and I'll just bring this up as I end this video, of net decking. And you shouldn't just judge somebody's deck by the cover, I guess you could say. Until you play that deck, you really can't say so. And even if you play it, doesn't mean it's a bad deck. It may have worked for them, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So I'm just saying that out loud because it's something that I feel that we make assumptions very quickly in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes, oh, it's a bad deck because he played those cards. It could work for him. It may not work for you because you play the deck, or you play the game a little bit differently in general. So just a thought there. Love to hear your feedback on this, guys. And until next time, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see you guys next time. And tell me what you think. Do you believe that different players in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Play their decks differently, even similar decks a little bit differently, and they have different playing styles? And until next time, guys, take care, everybody. And I'll also mention this, because this is going to be a topic for another day. Even though I said goodbye to everybody right there. Look at different decks out there and notice these little techs that people play. It may work for them, not for you. It's also, I guess you could say, in a way, what I'm trying to say here is there's never one way to build a deck. And that's because we all are different players at the end of the day, and we all like playing a deck maybe a little bit differently than somebody else. We cater it to our playing style. So that's what I'm just trying to say there. That's a topic for a different day a little bit, but I just wanted to add that on to the end of this video. But take care, everybody. I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.